Just finished up all those energy pathways and now we're moving into muscle fatigue. So when we're looking at muscle fatigue, we want to define that first. So this muscle fatigue is the inability of the muscle to contract. So we want to ask ourselves, well, why does this occur? Why are we getting muscle fatigue? Reason one, our ATP use is greater than our ATP production. So we're basically doing power strokes at a faster rate than our electron transport chain or glycolysis process can produce ATP. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this lactic acid accumulation. So you should think, whenever you think of acids, you should think that acids can affect pH. So lactic acids are going to decrease our pH. And if you remember, every protein, every cell, everything, every pathogen, every bacteria, every muscle, all these different things have optimal pH ranges, these homeostatic pH ranges. Once you get out of that pH range, the proteins stop working. So in this example, when you decrease this pH, you can shut off glycolysis because some of the enzymes used in glycolysis, they shut off because the pH changes. So when you change the pH or you change the heat too much, you can denature a protein. So we're denaturing these enzymes specifically, and that's going to shut off our process. So what has to happen? We need this lactic acid to diffuse out. So to get rid of the lactic acid, you just stop what you're doing, and the lactic acid will diffuse out of your cell naturally. It takes about 30 seconds. All right, the last one that we want to talk about are ionic imbalances. So we can't contract the muscle if we have a weird rate, if we don't have enough sodium to move into the cell or enough potassium to recover the cell out of that contraction phase. So ionic imbalances, the most specific one is potassium. Okay, so that's how it's fatiguing. So let's say we've gone through these energy pathways. We've already learned skeletal muscle contraction, how it's contracting. We just learned how it fatigues. Now that it's fatigued, what's going to happen while it's resting? So while it's resting, we need to replenish our oxygen. So our myoglobin gets replenished. Remember, in our bloodstream, we have this protein called hemoglobin carrying oxygen. In the muscle cells, it's called myoglobin. So that's going to replenish our oxygen. Our lactic acid needs to go into the bloodstream so that we can change that pH and get those enzymes working again. The lactic acid, before, if you guys remember, I said it can go to the heart as a blood source. It can also go to the liver, and once it goes to the liver, it's converted back into pyruvic acid and then can be converted back into glucose, which can be converted into glycogen, which is our storage sugar. So from Unit 1, a topic of this sugar, we talked about sugars, disaccharides, monosaccharides, polysaccharides. This polysaccharide glycogen is our storage molecule, and we store it in the liver and we store it in muscle cells. And it makes sense that we store it in the liver because we have this mechanism to help build it up. So we can either take glucose from our bloodstream, like from our diet, and we can put it in the liver and build it into glycogen, or we can break down that glucose into these other products like lactic acid, and then we can regenerate that glucose using our mechanisms in the liver. And then once that glucose is made, we can link it together to store it as glycogen. Alright, some other things that we need to do. We need to get our ATP resynthesized. That doesn't look right. Synthesized. There we go. Resynthesize. And then we also need our creatine phosphate to be replenished. So we'll pull in creatine from the diet, slap a phosphate on, and then that machinery is ready to go.